Okay, so we're gonna do a little test here with the GoPro MAX and the new update with the exposure value balancing, where you can either choose to have the camera balance the exposure value on the entire 360 sphere, or you can choose the lens that you want to record from. So right now I'm in shade, but the other lens is pointing out towards the sky and the sun. Now, I haven't run the update yet on the camera, and so I should actually be pretty dark right now, whereas the camera has to use a lower ISO and shutter, or faster shutter, lower ISO for the exposure because of the brighter exterior of the car right now. So we're going to go ahead and run the update, and then we're going to see if we can get a difference by changing the exposure to the interior. Okay, so now we have added the new update to the GoPro MAX, and what I've done is I have pressed on the screen with the selection being on the lens towards me, and now the lens is favoring the interior of the car when choosing the ISO and the shutter speed. So it should be much brighter in here than it was just a minute ago before I ran the update. And so now we can take a look at the other side of the lens and see just how much that's overexposed now compared to what it was prior. So we'll go ahead and we'll show you the exterior previously, before the update, now. And now we're going to show you the exterior after the update with the exposure being locked on the interior of the car. Okay, and so now we'll look at the interior of the car before the update, where both lenses are taking into the spherical, both lens account for choosing ISO and shutter speed. So here's the interior previously. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the interior now with the exposure value being preferenced to the interior of the car. And so obviously it's going to be a lot better now, so I really appreciate this update, but I am interested to see just how much we get an overexposure on the exterior. I can see behind me right now out of my back windows that it is pretty bright out there and overexposed, but of course I'm asking the camera to do that. Now we can do one more test. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find an area that's kind of in between and lock the exposure to that to see if we can find something a little bit more of a gray area in between, so that the exterior isn't overexposed and the interior isn't overly underexposed, if that makes sense. Of course, I'm going to have to underexpose a little bit on the interior here. It's generally better to underexpose than to overexpose, because you can always brighten and adjust that in editing, whereas if you overexpose something, it's nearly impossible to bring the detail back into the video. So we're going to go ahead and try that right now. So I don't know if I did it enough. It looks like we're still a little overexposed on the exterior, but I did bring the exposure down just a little bit on the interior here. I wonder if I can do adjustments while I'm recording. No, doesn't look like I can. So anyway, so there you go. New update to the GoPro MAX and the exposure control. I'm going to go ahead and do just one more where I'm going to preference the exterior so that we can see how much of a difference that makes with the exposure balance if we've chosen the exterior prior to the update and then now with the update. Okay, so now I have the exterior lens that is exposure balanced, and it definitely looks a heck of a lot better. I can see that already when I did it. But then if we swing the camera back around to the interior, you can see that it's really dark in here now. So obviously, if you're going to be using that exposure balance, it's something that you want to do carefully. But it is a very good tool, and I'm really glad that they added it on there. So we're just going to do one more quick clip before we go, just looking at the lenses and the exposure without having any type of exposure value implemented onto the lens without me making any adjustments, just with the camera in auto. Okay, so now we're gonna do just a real quick 360 so you can take a look, and this is how it looks just in auto with the exposure value being chosen by the camera, looking at both lenses and then making its adjustment based on the best value to get both lenses at the right brightness, right ISO, right shutter speed. So there you go. All right, until next time, I'll see you later. Be sure to like and subscribe. I need 1,000 subscribers so I can do some test of the live streaming on YouTube. Only have about 860 or 70 to go. But anyway, if you can, I'd appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.